Hello guys, my name is Karen Gabriel Wardana and I am from 2021B class, and in this video we are going to talk, and here I am with my friend Miss Susie. Hello Miss Susie.
Hi,
Okay, long time no see. How are you, Miss?
I'm great. It's nice to see you here.
Nice to see you too. Okay, before we start, I want to ask some question to introduce you to my audience. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Here we want to discuss about learning foreign language. Fortunately, Miss Susie learned foreign language as learning major. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, I want to ask, in the learning process that you pass through, what languages have you mastered other than Indonesian and English?
I only learn Chinese as my third language beside English. And
Wow.
Indonesian is mother tongue language, yeah.
Okay. Um, may you give me some words in Chinese?
Some words, sure. 学无止境.
Okay. What's that mean?
学 means learning, 无 means not. And then 止 is stop. 境 is boundaries. So 学无止境 means learning is have no stop and have no limit or never stop or limitless.
Okay. Did you learn Chinese because you want to learn the language, or there is another reason?
Uh, at first, I just want to learn it to have a new language skill, but in the middle of the process, I think learning Chinese is so useful, especially for work. So my intentions to learning was changing in the process.
Okay. Um, if I may know, is this your own wish to learn or from your parents?
At first, it is from my parents. At the beginning, I always thought Chinese is hard to learn, difficult, so I have no interest in it at the first time.
Okay. You said have no interest. So, um, if it's because you follow your parents' wish, did you your own expectation or wishes?
I have, yeah. As a young people, I like to watch anime, and I learned English for a long time from course classes. So my interest is actually that at that time is to learning Japanese and more English.
Mm. So, um, then why you choose Chinese to learn instead of that?
Because my parents say I am a Chinese
Okay.
descendant, so I need to learn Chinese language because it's important for Chinese people's life. And I considered because nowadays Chinese is also being used in many like many things like many aspects like economy, political. So yeah, it was very needed. And Chinese people are like everywhere and slowly, but I think it seems that Chinese will going to be booming in Indonesia. So I think it's a good thing to learn. I thought if I can learn a difficult language, it also make me easier to learn other languages too.
Okay. Um, when you started learn Chinese?
I started it in 2018. At the time I was 26 years old. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, did you took any specific major in this Chinese language learning?
Specific major, yes, I took Chinese for teaching as foreign language major.
Okay. Why did you take that major specification?
Uh, well, I studied in Sia Tarumanagara College. at the Tarumanagara University. At the time, they only have two specific major that you can take from the start. The first is Chinese language for business, and the second is Chinese language for teaching. I am not really interested in business, and I prefer the result that could be used for socializing and teaching people. I think that's my passion is. So I took Chinese for teaching as my major.
Okay. Um, what difficulties did you face while learning Chinese?
The difficulties. Uh, okay, first I'm going to explain this. First, that yes, I am a descendant of Chinese people, right? But I born in Indonesia. Without the good environment to learning, it is hard to learn Chinese. And I don't really learn Chinese before too in my formal school. So I can say that I count myself as a newbie to learning Chinese. And then we all knows that learning something new is always hard, right? And when I saw my friend who already learned from their childhood in Jakarta, in a big city with a good environment, many schools already set the Chinese learning for their students. So when I saw my friends who already learned from childhood times, sometimes I feel a little bit small, especially when I see that they are far younger than me. I am get into that learning. I began to learn Chinese in my 26 years old, right? I was 26 years old at that time, and they are just pop up from the senior high. They just graduated from senior high, so we have a big age gap at that time. So sometimes I feel a little bit small because they're younger than me, but they are more fluently than me. And the other difficulty is about my learning type. I am a person who are stronger in understanding learning material, but not to memorizing them. So learning Chinese is kind of hard because when you learn Chinese, you need to remember many things like the shape of the letter, the writings, the meaning, the pronunciation, the tone, and so on. So it's kind of hard for me. Well, yeah, that's the difficulties that I have that I need to deal with.
Okay. Um, if I'm not mistaken, Chinese is a difficult language, right? So have you ever had the feeling of wanting to give up or not?
Once, yes, I have. Before I want to stop because at that time I saw a few friends of mine. Uh, they were gave up in their process. Sometimes I feel like I want to resting too. I want to stop.
Okay. So how to deal with it?
How to deal with it? I think it's related to our management, to our mind and our emotion. Well, I try to be realistic and try to stick to my commitment. So I have a goal. Actually, it's not really a goal, but my commitment is that I should not stop until I reach my end. So my commitment is I need to be tough. I try to be diligent more. I always try to find my method to learning Chinese for my own sake. I try to find something that maybe could be taken as a value point or fun facts point in learning Chinese. I try to put a concept in my mind when I'm learning. I need to ask every material as something new. I put my curiosity in it. So when I read something, maybe I read a new word, I need to ask what is this? I need to ask why it is translated as this, why it is have the meaning of this. So I put my curiosity in it. I put my attention to it, and just be realistic. Beside of making that kind of mind, put that kind of thought in my mind. I also, uh, in my thought, I think that I need to be realistic. I passed through many hard times at that time when I saw my friends who left, uh, who left the process. It's like in the middle of the terms. So try to be realistic. I passed through many hard times. I pay with my money, with my energy. I pay with my own time to do many homeworks. So could it be worth it if I am giving up? So at that time, I decided I want to win over it. Maybe I am not the best, but I want to pass through it, and that's why I put my mind to dealing. That's what I think to deal with many difficulties when learning Chinese.
Okay. Mrs. C, is there an effective way to learn Chinese?
The effective way, I'll try to share my way. Okay, my method is that I try to link the Chinese stuff with my hobbies. For example, my hobbies is singing, so I learn to instead before I like to sing Western songs, and instead of singing many Western songs, I try to learn to sing Chinese songs. And before singing, or maybe after singing, I try to the lyrics, reread the lyrics with spelling it out from my mouth. So I learned it to spell it. I learned to read from there. And other method is I found memorizing is hard, but understanding is easier. This is my problem, right? So my method is to making solution for this. I need to put every meaning of the words because well I could say this first. Chinese letter usually and most of it are like a compilations of many words. Like maybe you could see there are like compilation of some parts being together and making it into a one letter, made into one letter. So every parts have their meaning. So I just need to put the meaning in that every part, and I imagine the meaning of the whole of that become as a one letter. So I try to imagine the word. I try to imagine the meaning of the word to make it have a deeper impression. So this is could make me easier to remember because I have a deeper impression when I see Chinese letter when I'm learning Chinese. That's my method to learn Chinese.
Okay, Mrs. C, what about mastering? How long does it take to really mastering Chinese?
How long? I think uh, my teacher saying if you are diligent, 1 to 2 years you can generally speaking Chinese for communication. Actually, for me, it was depend on your person, on your character, how you deal with it, and it's depend on your learning method too. So the first aspect is that you need to be diligent. So and the second is that you need to find a learning method that suits you. That way, you'll be faster to improve.
Okay. Uh, I am learning languages too, and I want to ask, do you think learning Chinese is easier or more difficult than English?
Many people say that Chinese is harder than English, but in my opinion, I think every language is having their own difficulties. Depend on how you work on it.
Okay. Um, I am also learning English right now. I often have difficulty in speaking because I'm afraid of being wrong and my grammar is still messy. If you are in my position, how do you solve this problem?
Um, the first thing that need to be managed is your mind. I think if I were you, I think that we need to manage our way to think. Do not think that learning English or any languages is impossible. If everyone can learn it, so do you. If everyone can learn it well and pass, so does you. And second thing is, you need to find out what kind of learning method that suit you, what kind of type of learner you are. Yeah, learning type. And if your difficulty is you're afraid of being wrong, then try to think that the wrong, making wrong thing or making a mistake is a normal thing to do. That could be happen. You need to think that nobody's perfect. Everyone needs to pass their own training. And to have a perfect grammar, I think you need to use that often. So, you need to be diligent to apply the grammar training in your speech. Try to find friends who like to speaking in English, so you will have a speaking partner, and try to many acquaintance to foreigner. So you need to learn. So you will learn to texting them, and when you're texting, when you're trying to speak, you will apply your grammar training in there. Even if it's wrong, it's not problem. You will realize, and you will make it better for the next. So don't be afraid, and don't take English learning or any languages learning as a burden, but turn it into a fun thing to do. It's like you're playing game. You're not afraid when you're playing game, right? You enjoy it, even that you do something wrong, like a wrong step, like a wrong thing to do, like a mistake, small mistakes or big mistakes. But game is a game, right? You're never afraid to play game. Game is a fun thing to do. So when you're learning languages, turn it into something that is fun to do.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. T. Okay, for next question, um, as someone who has mastered Chinese, is there a desire to open private lessons or something like that?
Yes, I want to learn to apply my Chinese skill, which I learned. I want to practice by teaching people, especially young people, like teenagers.
Okay, so we have heard some of Mrs. experiences about learning languages, specifically Chinese. Okay, lastly, Mrs. C, can you give words of encouragement to friends who might be learning foreign languages right now so they can be more enthusiastic about learning?
Uh, I think will be useful, maybe not only for learning but for life too. Um, I remember from a quote from Steve Harvey. He said, "If you're going through hell, keep going. Why would you stop in hell?" He asked that. That's his quote. What I want to say through his quotes is, no matter hard the situation that you are facing now, you need to keep going through it. Keep going until you find out that you are overcome of that. Keep going and enjoy your process to be an overcomer.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Susie, for sharing your experience as well as studying Chinese and for sharing tips with us. Thank you for your time, and hopefully the audiences who watch can gain benefit and be motivated from our talk this time. And sorry if there's any mistake in any speech. Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.
Bye.